I am Mexican feminist designer, researcher and strategist. I am currently working in UX as a strategist, and I've always been interested in the social role that design can have in society.
Welcome at a new episode of the Proportion Global Community live sessions. Today we have Liz from Mexico City. Welcome, Liz.
Hello, thank you.
Last time we talked about artificial intelligence, and AI is all about data. And today we talk about data as well. What is the problem that we're going to discuss, the problem around data?
Well, the term smart cities is thrown out at us very frequently now because we have all of this data available, but citizen and grassroots organizations have access to this open data from cities, but they don't really know what kind of data they want to get and what to do with it. So that's what I wanted to explore with the project.
Okay, so just for me to imagine, I'm based in the Netherlands, and slowly we get more and more e-government services. But I feel that sometimes the Netherlands is really lagging behind. With my experience, for instance, from in Kenya, now you have the e-gov services from Kenya, and I think around the world, governments are providing more and more services based on data. But what I understood from your story is that there might still be a disconnect between what the public service is offering, if it matches actually what people in the community need, and vice versa. I think what you told me is that a lot of citizens might not even know where to look or what they actually want. Can you kind of elaborate a bit more about the problem, what we are looking at here?
Sure. I started to look at data literacy because governments have all of these open data and open databases for citizens to explore, but these are really only accessible to professionals or people who really know how to deal with databases and explore them and use that information, which is not every citizen or not every neighborhood leader or not every organization leader. So I wanted to close that gap to go behind that and to the knowledge they need to have to get to this point of they knowing how to manage a database, which is information, how information works in their neighborhood, in their city, in their organization, and what the gaps that they need to fill, the information gaps that they need to fill with this kind of data, so that they can really go to the government and ask for the databases that they really need. And they
okay, let's make this concrete with an example. Let's say I live in a big city in Malawi, and I have maybe an initiative to make sure that all the waste that is scattered around my community is being collected. Why should I care about data?
Well, you should care because government already has the information of how often the garbage collection goes there, the budget that the garbage collection system has, and you could use all of this information to organize your community into a project which will help you clean your neighborhood.
Right, okay. So understand, first of all, that data is available, only where to look. And then the question is, how can I benefit from data to solve my problem, basically? Okay, now we have set the scene, right? And the interesting bit is you have created a participatory tool. So how can you empower communities to explore this new field of data? How does that work?
Well, with a participatory tool, the main goal is that you get information and you get dialogue within citizens. So they all sit at the same table during the same session and go through activities so that they can discuss, reflect, and create together.
Okay. But even if I don't have a computer, I'm a total or a smartphone, I'm totally off the internet. Can I still participate?
Sure. In fact, this was pre-pandemic. So my main goal was to get people in the same room. So it worked like that. They sat on the same room on a table together creating with printed canvases. So this was the first iteration before we all went digital.
All right, okay. And you explained there are 3 steps, right? So let us take us through those 3 steps. So step 1, tell me.
Step 1 was creating an information map, an information ecosystem map. So these canvases had 4 quadrants going into different dimensions of their information ecosystem. So the idea was for them to discuss around the access that they have to information, the use they give to information, how and what kind of information they trust. And they had different questions around the canvases that they had to answer and discuss.
This still sounds maybe a bit academic, data ecosystems. Give an example. What answers did they give? What is a trustful source of information in the community, for instance?
Sure. So in the one of the answers I got for what sources do you trust was from a neighbor who said, well, I always go, if I want to have all the information from the neighborhood, I go to the hairdresser because she has information about everyone in the neighborhood. So that's a really important piece of information that I couldn't have gotten if I did research there, because you really need a context and to live there for a few years to have that piece of information.
Okay, so in step 1, you ask everyone, like, where do you get your information and what is the level of trust of that source, basically. Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is about reflection. So every neighbor, in this case, every participant of the participatory session will write their story, one of the stories about what they discussed previously. For example, this story with the hairdresser. I went to the hairdresser and she told me about the problems kids were having at school. So we, as a neighborhood board, needed to address that. So their stories and what role they were playing as an organization with that. So they were diffusers if they were sharing information, but they were also creators if they went to a local radio station and shared the kind of projects they were doing. So this was to empower them in taking up this role of information diffuser or information sharer.
Right, so these stories help you to better understand the infrastructure, or maybe the informal infrastructure in a community to share information. But it also tells a bit about the topics that are relevant and important to the community. So in the end, it's about what do we want to achieve as a community and how do we get there? But I think that's step 3, right? Can you explain step 3?
Yes, so step 3, we really got into projectual mode and generative mode. And the goal was to have concrete steps to follow up these conversations and these reflections. So through images of photography, symbols, they created collages symbolizing the steps that they wanted to take if they had all their gaps of information filled. So for one example was if they had the budget available for the park, for the park management, they could ask for a specific small budget to plant fruit trees so that they would not only have shade and a beautiful space, but also apples or oranges in different seasons.
Right, so if I understand correctly, it works, I guess, 2 ways. So if they think about what is their desired future for their community, then they can say, okay, if we want to have less waste or better schools or more fruitful parks, literally, then they can say, okay, what kind of information is available on these topics? And then, so what is the gap of information? And then I can start lobbying at the municipality. So this is, on the one hand, a lobby tool, correct? I mean, the outcome of the 3 steps might empower the community members to lobby at their local municipality.
Yes, exactly. One of the goals of the tool is for participants to be able to articulate their needs and communicate them to the municipality.
Right. So from the other end of the table, the municipalities, what's the benefits of this tool for them?
Well, in a lot of governments are trying to build this bridge. They realize that they need to build bridges with citizens and neighborhoods. So in Rotterdam, where I was building the tool, they have an innovation department who is really trying to reach out and build a more participatory government. And I can say it is also the case of Mexico City. They've had projects around public transportation involving citizens in mapping the complicated and intricate network of public transportation, which they use to make it better, build it better, to have schedules, to have a concrete map. So this is the idea, to bring government and citizens together so that they build in the same direction and they meet in the middle, building from top down and from bottom up.
That makes total sense. Okay, but just publishing a description of the tool on a website for everyone to download might not have the effect that you want to achieve. So my question is, we are a community of human-centered designers. So why should we as designers care? What is the role of human-centered designers in this arena?
I think we need to step up and really be involved in bridging the gaps within government, because as designers, we have a lot of strategic and communication skills and tools, such as the one I built, and we have a lot of them already in our toolbox, just as the skills of designers have. So we really need, the research is already there. We all know about the social issues, the wicked problems, right? So we really need to, I believe that designers are perfect to bridge this gap, and we need to be more active and more involved in bridging it in government. And it can get messy with politics, but we have to be willing to go there too, if we are really creating a human-centered society, and we want this to go into government too.
Wonderful. That's a very beautiful closing. So if you have watched this video and you'd like to participate in the live discussion on this topic with Liz, then do sign up at proportion.global/community and join us in one of our upcoming live sessions. Thank you, Liz. See you in the upcoming session.
Thank you, Thomas.